Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for part 3 of our National Parks webinar series featuring Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Colorado Rockies. This year, it is the centennial for the national parks, and there's no better time to visit. If you did miss part 1, the Grand Canyon, or part 2, Glacier National Park of our webinar series, no worries, those were recorded, and you can watch them online at our blog at amtrakvacationsblog.com. I do have a special guest speaker who I'll introduce in just a bit, who's visited some of our beautiful national parks, and he's here to tell you all about them, where to stay, what to do, and the best ways to get there. I do want to introduce myself. I'm Jackie Malucki, and I will be your webinar host today. And we also have some really exciting and exclusive discounts just for all of you for attending today, which I will announce at the end, so stay tuned for that. And I also have a $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate to give away that you can put towards any of our packages, and that'll be given away at the end of the presentation to one lucky attendee. So definitely stay tuned and listen in for that. And you also want to write down our phone number, so when you are ready to make a booking, you can give us a call, and one of our vacation specialists can help you out and put together the perfect package for you. Our number's right there, 1-800-AMTRAK2. That's 1-800-268-7252. And you can also reach out to your local travel agent who will be able to assist you with booking your vacation package. If you do have any questions at all throughout this presentation, please feel free to type them right into your questions box there on the right hand of your screen, and we'll make sure to leave some time at the end to answer all of those. So why should you travel with Amtrak Vacations? Well, first of all, it's a bucket list experience to travel to our beautiful national parks and also to travel by train. On Amtrak, you'll see some beautiful landscapes of America by rail, and the train travels to places that no cars can go. And you'll see some landscapes that you would never experience just by flying. There's room to roam on board the train, so it's not like an airline or a car where you're stuck in your seat. You can get up and walk around on the train. I recently took a train trip going up the California coast, and I was able to get up, walk to the dining car for my meals. I went to the observation car with those large windows there, taking in all the great views of the Pacific coast, and socialized with other passengers there. It was such a fun and relaxing experience. It's less hassle when you book with us. We take the complexity out of booking a rail vacation, and we plan it all for you. So we include the rail to take you there, the hotel accommodations, sightseeing tours, to really make a stress-free vacation. We also have electronic rail tickets and e-documents to make things easier. We have city-to-city service. There's no better and more scenic way to travel than by train. And the train picks you up right in the heart of the cities that you're traveling to or from. You can satisfy your hunger on board. There is a dining car on the train. And with all sleeping accommodations, the meals are included on the train for that portion of the trip. There's a chef on board that's preparing the meals there. If you are traveling in coach, you can certainly still go to the dining car. There's also a snack car where you can grab a quick bite. And we have a lot of flexibility with our packages. We have daily departures on most of them, and we can customize any of our trips to make the perfect vacation package for you. Now, I always love showing this map of the Amtrak route system because a lot of people don't realize the extent that Amtrak travels to. It goes to 46 of the 48 continuous states, and the only two it does not go through are South Dakota and Wyoming. A little fun fact I always love to share too is last year, 31.2 million people traveled on Amtrak. And that's people that came from all over the U.S. and all over the world, really. And you do have the option to choose between 500 different stations to start and or end your trip. So there's lots of flexibility to decide on how you want to travel to the national parks. So one thing I am excited to share is Amtrak Vacations is now partnered with the National Parks Foundation, which is the official charity of the national parks. So what does that mean? Well, for every national park booking made with us, we'll donate a portion of the revenue to the National Parks Foundation. And that helps to preserve our beautiful national parks, and it funds park education programs, and that's at no additional cost to you. And this year, it is the centennial and 100th birthday of the National Park Service, so there's no better time to visit the national parks. But don't wait till the last minute to book, because the national park lodges do sell out. We have a few different types of products for the different destinations and packages that we have. We have our escorted rail journeys. So you're traveling with a small group, and there's a tour guide that's with you for the duration of the trip. It's more inclusive of sightseeing and meals, and it's great for those who like everything planned out for their days. We have our independent rail journeys. Those are our multi-city trips using Amtrak to take you from city to city. We include the hotels, tours, and sightseeing, but you still have free time to explore on your own, and you can travel at your own pace. We have our family adventures, great for multi-generational trips, and lots of family-friendly activities. We have our rail and sail programs. You don't have to fly to your cruise. You can take the train to your port city. Maybe it's to Seattle for your Alaska cruise, and we can take care of all that for you. We have our rail getaways, which are single city trips, and we'll add in the rail from your local Amtrak station. And we also have all of our national parks packages, anything from 1, 2, 3, or even 4 national parks that we'll combine. So now it's time to talk about our national parks and the great destinations that we have. And it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker and someone who knows the parks very well, Simon Watson.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today to talk about these 3 amazing destinations that we're going to go over. As Jackie said, we here at Amtrak Vacations, we're very proud sponsors of the National Parks Foundation, and so we're really excited to be a part of this centennial celebration year. I myself, I'm a National Parks annual pass holder, so I thoroughly enjoy visiting them, and even though I might not ever make it to all of them, I'm certainly trying to get to as many as I can. And these 3 in particular, these are 3 of the best, 3 that should really be on everyone's bucket list to visit. So we're going to talk about how we can visit those places individually, or how we can see more than one as part of the same package, and also talk about how you get there, talk about your experience on the train. So we should start with the biggest, Yellowstone. So generally recognized as the world's first national park, created way back in 1872, and it's been amazing more and more visitors year on year ever since. Yellowstone it's huge. It's the 2nd biggest park in the lower 48 states. Over 2 million acres, and even the National Park Service can't give you an exact figure of its size. It's also very remote, which does make it a challenge for most people to get to, but it still receives around 3.5 million visitors each year, and we like to make sure that we can make it as easy as possible for you to get there and to get around so you can enjoy it. So the park is famous for its amazing geothermal features, so especially the geysers. Around half of the world's geysers are located within the park, so it really is quite a unique location. There really is nowhere else like it in the world. It's also home to the largest concentration of mammals in the lower 48 states, so it has the largest bison herd in the US. It has bighorn sheep, elk, moose, black bears, grizzly bears, wolves and wolverines, to name just a few. And if all that isn't enough for you, then there's also the amazing mountain scenery, the waterfalls, the canyons, the list just goes on. And here in particular, this hot spring, the Grand Prismatic Spring, is the park's largest hot spring. Now it has these beautiful colors all year round, but really the most vivid colors, and so the best time to see it would be during the spring. So what do we do while we're in Yellowstone? Well, we offer you a sightseeing tour which will allow you to see the best of the park, hopefully see some wildlife, definitely get lots of photo opportunities, and you don't have to worry about driving yourself around, so you can really enjoy that scenery. So think of the major roads in the park as like a figure of 8. So you have a lower loop and an upper loop. Now, most of the famous spots within the park are accessible from one of these major roads. In fact, around 70% of them, so think Old Faithful, the Grand Prismatic Spring, Yellowstone Lake, most of them are accessible from the lower loop. So this is the tour that we use most often in our packages. But if you do have some extra time and you want to add another tour, then we may also be able to add an upper loop tour for you as well. So what will we see on the lower loop? You'll visit Firehole Canyon. You'll visit the fountain paint pots, which are boiling hot springs and mud pools of various colors. You'll see this, of course, Old Faithful Geyser, erupting every 35 to 120 minutes. So there's a very good chance you'll see it go off at least once while you're stopped there. It really is one of the most reliable geysers anywhere in the world. And it can shoot as much as 84,000 gallons of water as high as 184 feet into the air. And one of my favorite facts about it is that in the early days of the park, when the park was being protected by the military, the troops would sometimes use it as a laundry service by stuffing their dirty sheets and clothes inside the crater and then waiting until they were ejected, fully cleaned and laundered. Then we'd go on from there to over the Continental Divide at Isa Lake, and then on to Yellowstone Lake, the largest freshwater lake above 7,000 feet in North America, again with geysers and hot springs lining the side of the lake. And then on to the mud volcano, a big pool of thick boiling mud with a rotten egg smell in the air, so get ready to pinch your nose. And then you'll hit a real highlight, which is Hayden Valley, which is a great spot for wildlife watching. So you'll see bears, bison, wolves, hopefully. Obviously, we can never guarantee anything, but if you're going to see it, it's going to be here. And then on to this picture, the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River. So nearly a mile wide at some spots and around 24 miles long. And then your last stop of the day will be the pretty Gibbon Falls, just as you're making your way out of the park. To stay, we would be using West Yellowstone, a rustic mountain town just at the gateway to the park. And here we offer the Holiday Inn and the Grey Wolf Inn and Suites. So around this town, there's several shops and restaurants, as well as things like the Yellowstone Museum, and the town's just a nice, easy, relaxed town to walk around. Now, both of these hotels offer an indoor pool and whirlpool to help you recharge after a busy day of sightseeing. And also, just a note for rail fans, the Holiday Inn has one of the best preserved executive railroad cars in existence. It used to belong to the vice president of Union Pacific. And even if you're not staying here, it really is worthwhile coming along to the hotel to go inside and check it out. You can also stay at the Yellowstone Park Hotel, again in West Yellowstone, but this one is only open from April through October, so only through that main summer season. And again, great facilities, including an indoor pool, and again, walkable to the restaurants and the sites of this town. So how do we get you there? So the best place to get off the train is Salt Lake City. Now, this is on the famous California Zephyr route running between Chicago and San Francisco. And it generally is rated as the most scenic train trip in the country. So if you're only ever going to do one train trip, make it this one. And whether you're traveling from the Midwest or the West Coast, you're in for a real treat with some mountain scenery that you just do not see from the road and definitely don't see from the plane. So we can help you customize your trip to suit your needs. So you can choose between any of the 500 Amtrak stations to start and end your trip, or you could also fly in or out of Salt Lake City. So remember that everything you see today and hear us talk about is really just a taste of what we can offer. If you see something that is close but not quite right for what you need, then please call us or email us and we can discuss your options and customize a trip to suit you. And just as a reminder, these are very popular destinations and very popular train routes, and the space does sell out very early. So let's take a look at some of our packages. So the Yellowstone National Park Getaway includes Salt Lake City and Yellowstone with round-trip transportation to the park. So you'll start off in Salt Lake City, and it really is a great city to explore to start your adventure. So make sure to visit things like Temple Square. And although non-Mormons can't enter the temple itself, you can still enjoy the grounds and the architecture and some of the surrounding church buildings. And if you're lucky, you may catch a performance of the famous Tabernacle Choir while you're there. Now, the next morning, you take a motor coach from Salt Lake City up through northern Utah, through southeast Idaho, until you finally reach that little mountain town of West Yellowstone, which will be your base for the 2 nights. And all of this will be included as part of your Yellowstone National Park getaway. As an alternative, we could offer the Yellowstone National Park Family Adventure. So this is available through June through September and gives you a chance to take the children or the grandchildren on this amazing adventure. So it starts with an overnight train from Chicago on the famous California Zephyr, and it goes overnight in coach accommodations, but upgrades to sleepers are available, and we will look closer at the different types of sleeping accommodation towards the end of the presentation. So you board the train in Chicago and head west, and the real highlight of your journey will be the climb into the Rockies once you enter Colorado. And then once you're in Salt Lake City, you spend the night downtown. All of our hotels are situated close to the station, and then you've got a rental car as part of your package. So you're going to pick up your car and hit the road, and you'll drive up through Grand Tetons National Park to enter Yellowstone via the south entrance. So you really get to enjoy that scenery on the drive up there. You'll follow the lower loop of the park around and stop at your lodge near the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, because you will be staying for 3 nights inside the park at Canyon Lodge. So this lodge is only open through the summer months, which is why this particular package is only available at that time. But outside of the summer, we can customize a package for you and use the hotel options outside the park in West Yellowstone. So this package includes a very similar tour, so the Circle of Fire tour, which will pick you up from your lodge and again follow that lower loop of the park with a tour guide to explain all of these natural wonders to make sure you really appreciate what it is that you're seeing. So that's the Yellowstone National Park Family Adventure for 8 days. And then as an alternative type of package, there is the Northern National Parks, which is our escorted package. Now, if you remember, Jackie explained those as the small group tours with a tour manager to guide you along the way. And it's the most inclusive type of tour that we offer. And many people like to take this kind of trip because everything is more organized for them. So this trip will start in Seattle, and you will get a sightseeing city tour, including the Space Needle, stop at Pike Place Market, the Ballard Locks, and more. And then your train will be this time the Empire Builder, where you'll travel east up through the Cascade Mountains, arriving in Glacier the next morning. And the train arrives at the station directly by the lodge, which for those of you who joined the Glacier Park presentation previously or want to view it on the blog, you can find out much more information about this fantastic park there. So while in Glacier, you'll take the amazing Big Sky Circle tour, so you get to experience that going to the Sun Road trip over the mountains through Logan Pass, and hopefully there stop for some wildlife at Goat Lick. And you'll also get a separate tour and get to experience the beauty of Two Medicine Valley via a boat cruise. Your transfer down to include Yellowstone this time will be a private transfer down through Montana, going to Grant Village, which will be your home in the park. So named after the President Ulysses S. Grant, who signed the act to create the park, and it's located right by Yellowstone Lake. So again, a very convenient spot to join the lower loop and see all of these attractions. So from there, you move down to Jackson Hole, and you will get to explore a little bit more of Grand Tetons National Park. So the extraordinary wildlife, you've got pristine lakes, alpine terrain, as well as the Snake River making its way through the park. And your tour will end in Salt Lake City with your guided city tour. So again, going to see Temple Square, the State Capitol building, the Clark Planetarium, really action-packed day in Salt Lake City. And remember, an escorted trip is different to the rest of the types of packages we offer, as it's more of a fully inclusive group tour with a tour manager along the entire journey with you. And these packages, they are built with a fixed starting point. So we just saw one starting in Seattle. We looked at the family adventure starting in Chicago. But we can customize some of these trips to start and end in any of over 500 different Amtrak stations. If you call us or email us with details about what you're trying to do, we can help you arrange your trip. But space on the train, especially the sleeping accommodations, does fill up very quickly. And we now move on to Yosemite National Park. I love this park. I've been twice before myself. It's a fantastic place to visit. And it can be done really as an easy day trip from San Francisco, or like some of these packages, with a bit more time to spend admiring the park. It's the 17th largest park in the system at over 750,000 acres and attracts over 4 million people each and every year. So you've got the giant waterfalls, the sequoias, the meadows, you've got bears in the park, mountain lions, deer, and as well the real kind of granite structures like Half Dome and El Capitan, which really dominate the landscape as you're going around. Your lodges available here would be the Yosemite View Lodge, which is just outside the park entrance. So you walk about 100 yards up the road to a nice welcome sign welcoming you to the park. And you have the Merced River flowing gently behind the lodge. And you've got a bus stop right outside the lodge, which takes you directly into the park. And you've also got the free shuttle services which run around the park to allow you to explore even further. The Yosemite Lodge at the falls is another option you have, but this one is actually inside the park itself with a great view of Yosemite Falls. And again, it includes a shuttle stop right outside the lodge to allow you to easily explore. But you will likely do the Valley Floor Tour as part of your package. So you will see things like Fern Springs, the famous tunnel view, or as some call it, Inspiration Point. Now this is one of those famous spots where you stand, you look out, and you can't quite believe that it's real because everything looks more like a painting or a photograph. You've got a view over the vast valley, and even all the lodges and things which are hidden down in the trees. You can't even see them from up there, but you know that it's all down there. You also see Bridal Veil Falls, which is about 600 feet high, a nice light swaying flow waterfall. It's almost like a misty waterfall. It just wants to be a waterfall but can't quite make it. And then Sentinel Bridge with a fantastic view down the valley to Half Dome. Stoneman Meadow with views of Half Dome and Yosemite Falls. And then Yosemite Falls themselves. A nice easy paved walk from the road up to the base of the waterfall, which is actually 3 waterfalls together. It's the upper, the mid, and the lower falls. But put together, if you count it all as one, it is one of the highest waterfalls in the world. So you will see this a few times as you go around the valley. This is Half Dome. And as you see here, you have beautiful fall colors, which is a great time to visit the park. It gets quite crowded during the summer as everyone wants to visit, but fall is a lovely time to visit. And your getaway includes 2 nights accommodation and the Valley Floor Tour. So you get to see all of those sites all in one day, really. You really do capture the whole of the park in a very short time. For Rocky Mountain National Park, there's over 3 million visitors each year come to appreciate this mountain wilderness, its wildlife, and its scenic drives. So the park has been in existence since 1915, and it's just over 400 square miles. And it's got the famous Trail Ridge Road, which took about 6 years to build, as the construction season was only about 4 months long each time because of the weather conditions. So the park's home to over 3,000 elk, so you really are likely to see some at some point, possibly even if you're lucky, witness the elk bugling, where the full elks are bellowing at each other to compete for mates. And one of the best packages that you'll see is the Peaks to Pacific package, starting with 2 nights in Denver. So you can fly into Denver or take the train from Chicago or San Francisco. And this package includes Rocky Mountain, Yellowstone, and Yosemite all together in the same package. So your tour to Rocky Mountain National Park runs out of Denver, so it will pick you up in the morning, cross the Continental Divide at Berthoud Pass, make a brief stop in the gorgeous resort town of Winter Park. You'll stop for lunch in the lovely town of Grand Lake, and then head into the park properly to follow that amazing Trail Ridge Road through the park, cresting it over 12,000 feet before you descend back down and return to your hotel in Denver. Your train is going to be, again, the California Zephyr for that fantastic trip by day through the Rocky Mountains to Salt Lake City. You'll stay the night there and then take a guided city tour the next day. So again, the Temple Square, the state capitol, the governor's mansion. And if you are there on a Sunday, then the tour does include a visit to see the Mormon Tabernacle Choir perform. And then from there, you journey on to Yellowstone for your 2 nights with the Lower Loop tour before transferring back down to Salt Lake City for your train to San Francisco. So your train will travel overnight, and then you'll get a trip the next day through the Sierra Nevadas before you reach Emeryville and your short bus ride over the bridge into San Francisco. Your tour of Yosemite will be a guided tour departing from San Francisco. So it'll take you over the Bay Bridge out of the city, and you'll go down through the agricultural center of California, the Central Valley. So rows and rows of fruit trees, almond trees, and then you turn up into the mountains and follow the narrow gorges of the Merced River into the park. You'll experience the valley floor and the Yosemite Village area where you'll make a brief stop for lunch, and then you've got some free time to explore on your own before your motor coach takes you back to San Francisco. So this is a great trip to see not just those 3 amazing national parks, but also enjoy the scenic train ride, the California Zephyr, and also some great city tours as well. A similar package would be Yellowstone to Yosemite. So this one is different in that instead of your 2 nights in Denver, you have 2 nights in Chicago, and your overnight train takes you from there all the way to Salt Lake City. So you'll start in Chicago with a hop-on, hop-off tour included. So you can go see things like the Willis Tower, the John Hancock Building, take a trip down to the museum campus, see the Bean. There's so much to see and do in Chicago with great food and architecture. And then from Union Station, you take your California Zephyr to Salt Lake City, where you've got a night stay and then your guided city tour the next day. From there, you go up to Yellowstone. So here we see Old Faithful and the Old Faithful Inn, where you'll be stopping for your lunch break on the Lower Loop tour. And then from there, your train from Salt Lake City over the Sierra Nevadas until you reach the Pacific Coast and San Francisco. And you'll get that day tour out of San Francisco down to Yosemite to enjoy the sights again of the Yosemite Valley. So you can see both of those spectacular parks, both Yellowstone and Yosemite, in this one package, as well as Chicago, Salt Lake City, and San Francisco. Now this next one is really quite amazing. This one you've got 4 different national parks included. Rocky Mountain, Arches, Canyonlands, and Yellowstone. So really quite an amazing itinerary to do. So you have 2 nights in Denver, including that full day tour of the Rocky Mountain National Park, going over that amazing Trail Ridge Road. And then you go on to Grand Junction, Colorado. So here you've got a day tour which will take you to the amazing sandstone arches such as Delicate Arch and the Windows in Arches National Park. And then from there you move on to the next park, Canyonlands, with its countless canyons, mesas, and buttes created by the Green and Colorado rivers. So you'll see the incredible Island in the Sky section with an amazing scenic drive on sheer sandstone cliffs rising at about 1,000 feet over the surrounding terrain. And then you're back on the California Zephyr to Salt Lake City, and then off up to Yellowstone. So again, your geysers and your bison, hopefully you'll see some of those roaming through the park before your shuttle takes you back to the end of your trip in Salt Lake City. So all of those things included, so the 4 national parks as well as those city stays. So what about the train? What is it like and why take it? So most of our packages will include a trip in coach accommodation. Often, trips like we've just seen from Denver to Salt Lake City, they're traveling through the daytime hours, so you don't really require the sleeping accommodation. The seats are wide, they're comfortable, they can recline up to 45 degrees with a footrest and a leg rest available, and there's plenty of leg room and room to roam on the train. So there's no fasten your seatbelt signs, there's no requirements to be seated at takeoff and landing. You just get up and you walk around. And I think, like Jackie said, it's a very social environment. So you'll be talking to other passengers, maybe learning a little bit about the area that you're traveling through, and everyone's sharing their stories, where they're going and what they're doing. And then if you're looking for sleeping accommodation on the train, this is available as an upgrade to most of these packages. So your meals are included on almost all trains on Amtrak. That's certainly all trains featured in this presentation. So your roomette have 2 seats facing each other with a large window for you to enjoy that scenery. And then those seats are folding into beds at night. So your room attendant will come along and make up your bed for you and then return it to chairs again the next day. So there's also several restrooms and a shower available for all roomette passengers to use. And then your bedroom, there's also that option. So the bedrooms have slightly more space with an additional armchair and also a private bathroom with a toilet and a shower. And again, meals are included on almost all of these trains, but especially with the bedrooms, space is very limited and the bedrooms do tend to book up early. Some additional room types include the accessible bedroom for passengers with disabilities and the family bedroom, ideal for adults traveling with small children. And it's also possible to make a suite from the regular bedrooms by joining 2 together and creating a larger shared space. Also, make sure to visit my favorite part of the train, which is the observation deck in the lounge car. So these have large panoramic windows, and they really are the best place to enjoy the amazing scenery that you'll travel through. Really, as you're going up through the Rockies, this is exactly where you want to be able to enjoy it. There's also a cafe car downstairs from here, selling drinks and snacks throughout the day as well, in case you get hungry or thirsty. And then for food, regular meals are included for sleeping car passengers on most trains, and you'll be seated with other passengers at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you really get a chance to meet other people and find out where they're going and what they're doing, and maybe pick up some ideas for your next Amtrak vacation.
Well, thank you so much for all that great information, Simon, all about the national parks, where to stay, what you're going to see and do while you're there. And remember, that's just a small sampling of the destinations and packages that we have. If you go online to amtrakvacations.com and you go to our destinations tab, you'll see a list of our 50+ destinations we have. Click on any one that you're interested in traveling to, and then you'll see all the packages that we have that can take you there. And if you don't see the trip that you're looking for, let us know, because we can customize something to make it as long or as short as you would like, or to help you hit a special price point. So how do you book one of our packages? Our vacation specialists are ready to help you out if you call us at 800-268-7252. You can also go online at amtrakvacations.com, or you can contact your local travel agent. One thing I do want to mention is we also offer a travel protection option. You do have the flexibility to choose it, but it really is one of the best in the industry because it's canceled for any reason up until 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, the business day prior, for a full refund minus the cost of that trip protection. And it usually starts around $30 to $40, and the price depends on the length and type of trip that you have. Now, for the Amtrak rail portion, we do have quite a few discounts to offer. We have some for veterans and those in the military. We have a AAA discount, a great one for anyone age 62 or older, And for anyone traveling with a child, 2 to 12, the child will receive 50% off the rail portion for the Amtrak Vacations packages that we have. We do have some great discounts too to offer. We have our early booking discount, so you can save $400 per couple on our escorted trips, like our Northern National Parks touring Glacier National Park and Yellowstone, and $200 on select independent rail journeys, which are multi-city packages. And that's as long as you book by February 29th. But for taking the time to join us today, we do have an exclusive discount just for all of you, where you can actually save an additional $100 off per couple on escorted and select independent rail journeys, as long as you book by next Wednesday, February 24th. So that's up to $500 off per couple that you could save. But you don't want to wait to book because space does sell out in the parks, especially because this year it is the centennial. And they're estimating 300 million tourists will be visiting the national parks. They're going to have record-breaking attendance this year. Plus, you'll definitely want to take advantage of these exclusive savings. So there is a handout there that you'll see right on the right-hand side. If you want to click on that, you can download it. Has some of the packages that we talked about today, as well as those promos and discounts. It also has the link to our blog to view part 1 and 2 of the National Parks webinar series, which featured Grand Canyon and Glacier National Park, in case you missed it. I do want to open it up to questions, so if anyone does have any questions at all, please feel free to type it right into your questions box there. But before I do, and before we go ahead and answer all those questions, I do want to announce our $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate winner, and that winner is Georgia Brown. So we will go ahead and send you that $100 gift certificate that you can apply towards any of our packages. So it looks like we have a few great questions that came in. So we have a question from Caitlin asking, is Amtrak handicap accessible?
Yes, it is. All Amtrak trains have accessible bedrooms and accessible seating on the train. The vast majority of the tours available also have accessible options. The only one that we've spoken about today that doesn't have any is the Arches and Canyonlands tour. Is unfortunately not accessible, but everything else we've looked at today is. We would just require that you, when you're making your booking, you make any needs that you have quite clear so that everyone can book you the appropriate accommodation to suit your needs.
We have a question from Nikki. Do I have to pay the full amount on this trip, or can I just put a deposit?
Good question, Nikki. If you're booking more than 60 days in advance, then a deposit is available for these. For the independent journeys, a deposit would be $100 per person plus your trip protection if you decided to purchase that. And for the escorted trips, you'd be looking at a $250 per person deposit plus any trip protection. And then final payment will be due at 60 days prior to travel.
So we have a question from Georgia. And Georgia's asking, what page in the brochure for Amtrak Vacations is the America's National Parks 9-day Denver to Salt Lake City that's listed in the handout so I can see the dates and pricing? So Georgia, I'll go ahead and answer that one for you. So that's a great question. You'll also notice on that handout there that has those trips, they all have links back to the website. That way you can check out the pricing for the specific date that you are looking to travel. For our brochure, not all of our packages are listed in that brochure. It's just a small sample of some of the ones that we do have. So definitely if you're looking at the packages, you'll want to go to amtrakvacations.com and take a look there. And there you can see all of our vacation packages that we have. We have a great question from Jan. What is the blog site to see the other 2 webinars? Great question, Jan. That site, it is amtrakvacationsblog.com. And again, on that handout at the very bottom, you'll see the link there too. That way you can always reference that. Let's take a look here. We have a question from Andrew. Can hotel rooms be booked with 2 beds?
Yes, Andrew. Please make sure that anytime that you have any sort of special request for bedding, just make that clear at the time of booking. Some hotel rooms will come with an option to just choose 2 beds. Sometimes, though, it might just be a request to the hotel, and in that case, they will do their best to guarantee any kind of request. But really, it is a hotel-by-hotel basis, depending on what their facilities are.
So this is more of a comment from Catherine, but thank you for sharing this one, and just wanted to share it with everyone else. So Catherine says, I just took an Amtrak Vacations to the Grand Canyon around the new year this year. I just want to point out that oftentimes when people hear about customize your trip, people might think it would cost an arm and a leg for that kind of thing. I was very happy with Amtrak, did the customized vacation for me at no extra cost at all. It was a great experience. So thank you so much for those kind words, Catherine. So we have a question from, let's see. We have a question from William asking if it qualifies for Amtrak rewards points for the packages or the rail.
Yes, William, indeed you can still earn your Amtrak guest rewards points when you're making these bookings. Just make sure to give your guest rewards number at the time of booking. Unfortunately, the only thing you can't do is purchase the rail using your points. So you can earn more points, but just not use your points to actually purchase these packages.
And we have a question from Renee. Can air be booked through you?
Unfortunately, Renee, no, we don't book any flights, just the land portion of it for you.
So it looks like that's all we have for questions today. So I want to say thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time and joining us. If you do have any other questions that come up, please feel free to give us a call. We'll be more than happy to answer any of those for you and to help you plan your next vacation. Take care, everyone.